What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cups Analytics YouTube channel. My name is Alex, and in this video, we're going to be diving into what the data says about rookie New York Jets tight end Kenyon Sadiq, what we can expect from him in fantasy football in 2026 and throughout his career. We're going to take a look at the biggest highlights from his numbers in college, and also look at his year one statistical comps, the historical tight ends with the most similar prospect profiles to Kenyon Sadiq and how they were for fantasy football, not only in their rookie seasons, but throughout their careers. All that and more coming right up in this video. We're not going to waste any time. We're jumping right into it. Welcome back to Cups Analytics. Let's go. So to kick things off, we're going to take a step back and look at Kenyon Sadiq's collegiate production profile. We're going to see what numbers stand out and what numbers are a little bit questionable when looking at historical tight end prospect profile data. Sadiq spent 3 years at University of Oregon, so that means he was indeed an early declare prospect. He graduated from high school, spent 3 years playing college football, and immediately declared for the NFL draft. And for anyone that has any sort of analytical background in fantasy football, you'll know that it's typically a good sign when a player is an early declare, rather than spending a bunch of years past their first 3 seasons at the college level before coming to the NFL. But to be entirely honest, at the tight end position, based on my research, being an early declare definitely doesn't have as much correlation with future NFL fantasy success as it might at other positions like running back and wide receiver. Nonetheless, it is usually still a good indicator of talent, especially when we consider the fact that Kenyon Sadiq did go in the first round. So we're going to start off with the things I find positive about Sadiq's production profile, and we can begin with his average QBR when targeted across all 3 of his collegiate seasons being 141, which is a 98th percentile number among all tight ends in my database. Throughout his 3 years in college, the strength of the UO football program was also one of the best in the country. Over those 3 years, Oregon had an average SRS, or simple rating system, of 20.65. Essentially, the higher SRS a school has, the higher level of competition that they are facing in a given season. And if you've watched any of my other videos on prospects so far, I've talked a lot about the importance and the predictiveness of SRS when looking at future fantasy points at the NFL level. And this correlation exists across all positions: running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So it's good to see Kenyon Sadiq playing at a top tier program throughout his entire collegiate career. Sadiq also proved himself to be a threat after the catch, with an average yards after the catch per reception of 6.96 throughout his entire college career. This was an 85th percentile number among all tight ends. And it's easy to see how Kenyon Sadiq could be such a threat to generate these yards after the catch when you look at how freakishly athletic he is, coming in with a relative athletic score at the NFL Combine this year of 9.52, which puts him in the 89th percentile of tight ends. His per route efficiency metrics in college were good but not great. He had an average yards per out run of 1.91, which was a 73rd percentile number, average targets per out run of 0.2, which was also 73rd percentile, but he did have an average first down per out run of 0.1, which was a 91st percentile number. Now, looking at some of the stuff that does concern me a little bit with Kenyon Sadiq's profile, he definitely struggled with drops throughout his time in college, coming in with just around a 9% average drop rate over his 3 seasons, and this is a 13th percentile number. Additionally, his average depth of target across his 3 seasons was right around 6.5 yards downfield, and this is an 11th percentile number. So Sadiq really wasn't generating any explosive plays through the air. He was mainly involved in the short area passing game with the hope that he could use his athleticism to generate yards after the catch, which he did do effectively. So now we have a bit better of an understanding of Kenyon Sadiq's production profile back in college. What does historical data about similar tight end prospects with similar draft capital, size and athleticism, and production tell us we could generally expect from Kenyon Sadiq, not only in his rookie season in fantasy football, but throughout his career? And to answer that question, we're going to dive into Kenyon Sadiq's year one statistical comps. These are the 20 tight end prospects from historical years with the most similar production, athleticism, and draft capital to Sadiq. They're sorted by similarity, so the most similar prospects are at the top. And as you can see on the far right, we have 3 columns there: top 3 finishes, top 6 finishes, and top 12 finishes in fantasy points per game throughout these players' careers. And looking at this data, you can see there's quite a wide range of outcomes for Sadiq, the fantasy asset, at the NFL level. We do see 14 out of 20 hit at least one top 12 or tight end 1 finish in fantasy points per game throughout their careers, but it drops off pretty quickly after after that, with only 6 out of 20 hitting at least one top 6 finish, and 2 out of 20 hitting at least one top 3 finish, with the 2 top 3 finishers, Sam Laporta and TJ Hawkinson, being some of his less similar comps. I do think some of the comps that the model is spitting out here at the top, namely guys like OJ Howard, Noah Fant, these guys that are freakishly athletic tight ends, really the type of profiles that we want to love in fantasy football, these early declares, hyper athletic, but historically, these guys have rarely panned out to be tight ends that prove to be fantasy relevant over a sustained period of time at the NFL level. But now that we've seen the names of these year one comps, let's take a look at the numerical range of outcomes of what we could potentially expect from Kenyon Sadiq in his rookie season specifically. And looking at this distribution chart here, we can see Sadiq has a median outcome in year one of 6.7 PPR points per game, with an absolute ceiling of right around 13.9 points per game. So when it comes to my overall opinion on Kenyon Sadiq, he's definitely not a guy that I would be targeting in any 2026 redraft leagues. I find it pretty unlikely that he will be someone that's super fantasy relevant in his first season. And while I'm definitely not blown away by any means by his 20 closest comps, given what they've done in fantasy football throughout their careers, I think Sadiq is a totally reasonable pick towards the back end of the first round in your 2026 rookie drafts, especially if it's a tight end premium league, because while he wasn't a world beater by any means in the Oregon receiving game throughout his time in college, at the end of the day, he's an early declare, he's insanely athletic, and he has first round draft capital. And we all know that tight end is probably the hardest pass catching position to predict fantasy translation from the college level to NFL. So that being said, I think he's a guy that I'd be targeting in the late rounds of my rookie drafts, particularly if I was a rebuilding team. But if I'm looking to compete in 2026 and I have a 110 or 111 and I'm staring down the barrel of Kenyon Sadiq there, if I need a tight end, I'm probably more likely to try to add on to that pick and go get one of the top 5 or 6 young tight ends across the dynasty space right now. But that's all I got for you guys on Kenyon Sadiq. Let me know down below what you think of him. Do you think he's going to be a fantasy relevant asset in his rookie season? Are you interested in him in your dynasty rookie drafts? Let me know what you think down below. Make sure you like the video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Make sure you go back and check out all of my 2025 year 2 breakdowns from earlier this offseason as well. And stay tuned for more 2026 rookie content coming throughout this offseason. That's all for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.